Very simply, blood was important because it was the life force. The ancients understood that if you got cut and you bled for an extensive part of time, you died. There was just no if or whens about it. So blood was the life force. It was what sustained human beings. And so they, I won't say worship blood, but certainly blood played an important part in many aspects of many religions. The shedding of blood, human blood first, is talking about Iphigenia, the best. It had to be the king's daughter, not some commoner, but the king had to sacrifice the best. And we see this in animal sacrifice as well. When you sacrificed animals, it was always the best of what you had. The gods, or the god, did not want a sheep that was blemished or a dove that was blemished, but the best that you had. We see this in other types of myths. We see this when Oedipus goes to the underworld to find out information on how to get home. He gives the shade, the ghost, the soul of the deceased person, blood, because the dead crave blood. This is why red food was the food of the dead, the pomegranate. It was by no accident that Persephone ate the pomegranate, or in the other myths when she was, before Hades came along, that she took a pomegranate with her and anointed the dead by putting a red mark on their heads, because it was symbolic of blood. I also believe that this is the holdover in vampire lore, why vampires go for blood instead of for the heart or organ meat. It was that life force which continued on. Some scholars say that the earliest of blood sacrifices weren't animals and weren't humans, but was menstrual blood. And of course that's something that we can't really prove one way or the other. But when you think about matricentric, matrifocal cultures, and think about that, women bled every month, and they bled for days at a time, and yet they didn't die and they weren't hurt. So that must have been some sort of a miracle that men couldn't do that. If men bled in the same way, men would die. Now, of course, in some other religions, such as that of Attis and Cybele, their priest would castrate themselves. And perhaps that was an emulation of what women do, perhaps not. But back to the blood. Blood was cleansing as well. You see that in the rites of Attis and Cybele that I talked about in the previous video, where the priest was cleansed by the blood, and on into Christianity. And then back to the mystery religions. We're never going to know what happened in those religions, but they certainly lasted a very long time. The rites of Attis and Cybele and the rites of Demeter in the Eleusinian mysteries really, literally, scholars think, went on for thousands of years. Mithraism was more short-lived than that, but you see that emphasis on the blood certainly continued on into Christianity, as it was important in Judaism with the sacrifice of the animals. Christianity adopted many aspects of, again, these mystery religious. And in the New Testament, the Christian scriptures, Paul talks about a man who was caught up into, I can't remember if it was the 7th level of heaven, but there was a level of heaven that this man was caught up into. Are there 7 levels of heaven? Dante thought so. And in his Inferno, he writes about the different levels that people who go to hell, according to how bad their sin was, which level they go to. Dante got it from someplace. So it continued on. Sorry, I had a phone call. That always upsets me because I lose track of where I was. So these mystery religions went along with the myth. And the myth supported these religions. And some of this myth and the rituals that went along with them, of course, they're lost because the ancients were very serious about their mysteries. And unlike modern Masons, and Masonry is a modern society regardless of what they say. That's a myth that Masonry goes all the way back to Hiram Abiff. Don't tell the Masons I said that. Modern day Masons have kind of spilled their beans, cliche, spill the beans in books and different things, but the ancients didn't do that. So those things are forever lost to us, and perhaps that's as it should be. They were in mystery, they remain in mystery, and we all need a bit of mystery. But that emphasis on the blood and other aspects being in the cave were certainly links to myth, and myth certainly supported them.